with allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing. As the legislative authority in Asheville, we impact the lives of families, businesses, and schools. With such a weighty responsibility, we believe it is wholly appropriate to petition for help from a higher authority in the discussion, reflection, and dispensing of our duties. In the moment of silence, I'd like to remember the resident that lost her life with the dog bite, and then also the family that lost the small dog. So remember them. Thanks. You may be seated. Roll call. Chad.
Present.
Roger.
Present.
Dave. Here. Matt.
Present.
Colton.
Present.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of October 7th regular session?
Second.
Vote.
Yes.
Greg.
The paving for this year is finished. I'll be working on more paving for next year. And leaf season started basically this week. And we'll go to the summer.
Tomorrow.
The only thing I have is we have Wyatt passed his certification today, so he is a class 1 operator. That's good.
Excellent. And I do have you have a monthly activity report from the police department. Danny wasn't able to attend due to some after-hours work. So. Under incident reports, he had 113 criminal arrest charges filed. There were 4. Had no warrant arrests. There were 17 traffic citations. No parking citations, warning citations of 15, 1 crash report. They patrolled 5,619.28 miles, reserve units given 32, and they assisted other agencies 13 times. We have one piece of legislation for 3rd reading. It's 13/2024 to enter into a contract with South Bloomfield for water service. Do you have a motion for 3rd reading?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Vote?
Yes.
13-2024, resolution authorizing the village administrator to enter into a water service agreement with the village of South Bloomfield.
I'll move to accept the 3rd reading and adopt the resolution.
Second?
Second.
Vote?
Yes.
And under new business, the TIP public hearing review.
The TIP is moving forward at Walnut Mills. Tonight was just part of what we had to do. Obviously, there was no objection to it, so it should be finished, I think, the 2nd meeting in December, which means we'll be able to capture all the monies available on that property for taxable income. Should be quite substantial. And recapture the money that we had to spend on the upgrade for the sewers, that was quite a bit of money. We'll be able to recapture all that as well. So.
Good. The utility ordinance amendments. Anything about that?
Is that what we're waiting on? That's what? Yeah, that's just a lot of, we need it in front of us. There's a lot to it. I won't get into it. When we talked about the 20% on the water bills going up each year for the next 5 years, it's all that stuff. And billing to the nearest gallons and instead of nearest thousands. And so that's what all that is. And he's not got it completed as of right now. So. And I just want it so we can have 3 readings, so I don't want to push it through in a speedy manner. Okay.
Council committee reports. Real quick for me, I was a little shocked last week when I got the text that Miss Eckelberger had passed away from a dog attack. And I've known her for years because her first husband was a firefighter with Harrison Township, and we worked together for several years. And to say I was shocked was an understatement. I mean, it was just completely, back then I didn't know who it was then. I knew that she had passed and the small dog had passed. I want to thank the fire department, police department for their life-saving, attempt to keep her alive, but during transport she passed away, and because the injuries are just too severe. So please remember the families and allow them time to grieve. But it's a shock. The police aren't here tonight, but there were 2 taken into custody tonight by the Pickaway County Sheriff and the police department. So one of them that had left, and they had to go get her, but they got her down, brought her back to the scene, and there's been 2 taken into custody. Any other comments? Council?
I think we need to, take this time when, to review, all of the policies. I read the extensive background on, this particular owner, this particular dog. It's quite extensive, but the reality is that this is national news. It's obviously statewide news, and, we're going to be part of that discussion on if there's anything more local governments can do, or if we need to ask the state government to change Ohio Revised Code. It just seemed like a laundry list of things that had gone in, and you can't reverse it, but maybe we can try and look at policies and see if there's anything that should be done differently.
I agree with Colton. I was actually on the scene with you being out of town. I got a call from the chief, went and got to talk to the officer that shot the dogs, and got to talk to him, make sure he was okay and things too. And it was definitely not a good sight. It really wasn't the scene, so very disturbing. But like Colton said, and I think we all agree, we need to just make sure that whatever we need to do, we can do by the state to help this. So, thank you.
Yeah, and hats off to Pastor Pease with Village Chapel. He's been keeping in contact with firefighters and stuff, because some of them have been having a rough time because it was a pretty traumatic scene. And,
what upsets me a lot is the incident last year with this dog. And, I just took a hard read of the state's law on that. Why that dog wasn't declared a vicious dog last year is beyond me. And something done other than a slap on the wrist or whatever happened. This would never happen. It just seems to me the law wasn't followed last year.
According to the assistant prosecutors, Steve and I both went down this morning and listened in on what they're planning to charge with. The dog has to offend 3 times before it can be deemed vicious.
And one of the issues was she got bit, but they weren't aware, because they said they could have deemed it a vicious attack because it broke her arm, but they didn't know, the courts didn't know that. So he said it was actually mild before they found out that she was broken her arm, that the dog was broken her arm. We do have some comments. One thing that we need to know is council has exclusive authority to punish their own. I have nothing in this. I can watch, all I am is a tiebreaker on this. And you need a 2/3 vote of council. But, you know, they would have to refer charges and all that, and I don't know, you know, I don't know the sentiments of council, but it's council's decision. It's council's decision to make a motion on whether they want to pursue it, but it's strictly council's decision per our rules and per, you know, our council rules actually state that it's, and it does take a 2/3 vote to remove any member from the council.
As president of council, you know, don't totally agree with all the actions that happened that night for sure. And I mean, Colton has apologized for that. He has also admitted that, you know, he shouldn't have done that. He made a mistake, but there's been no charges against him for this. So there's really nothing we could do anyhow because there's no charges that have been brought before him. And so, like I say, he's apologized, he's made a mistake, he's apologized to all council, he apologized to the constituents of Asheville, and so I just want to say that. So.
I want to add something. I mean, you know, regretful incident. I apologized. Obviously cost me in more ways than one. And, you know, something I have to learn from. But the reality of the situation is I've reached out to many constituents. I haven't gone into hiding. And I think that the fact that I have lived in this community for my entire life virtually, family has been involved in this community for nearly a century. Small business owners have been around. This is, you know, this is my home, and I think that I went and honestly, you know, spoke to my constituents of why I wanted to be on council. Okay. They reacted positively by supporting it. And I don't think that erodes overnight in one issue, and that's where I'm most sorry. So I think a lot of people are disappointed, and never want to see that, never want that. But you know, you guys, we have very serious issues impacting this village, and I addressed work with you guys on those for the 2 years before this incident. We get along pretty well. This is not a crazy well-paying job. You do it because you care about the community, and that doesn't change because I had a run-in where I did something stupid. So I hope you guys understand that, as my colleagues on this council, that I am sorry. I've moved forward from an event almost 2 months ago. And I want you to really know something about some of the folks that are here tonight. Never seen them before, unless they're running for office. I have one constituent, Mr. Ward, that addressed our body on this matter. And I think that it just happens to be that every single person that spoke is involved in one particular political organization. We don't get along. And I'm sorry that my work outside of this body has wasted time, because I think frankly that's what it's turned into. Happy to hear from any constituent, happy to hear from any person that is truly cares about this village and where we're headed. But I'm not sure that was on display. I think it might be a little bit more of a personal matter, and that has no real business here. But guys, we got a lot to work on. So the distraction's there. I'm sure some folks are going to have some more repeat things to say, but I would make sure that you know that you follow proper procedure. Maybe talk to your attorney on that matter on how that would need to proceed. But two is that I made a mistake, but I think this village deserves dedication to the issues that impact them in the future, not one incident that happened in my past, so.
Colton, the thing that I struggle with is that night. And I didn't see the video of the next morning. But apparently you were kind of arrogant the next morning towards the police and disrespect. That bothers me because I don't know if you were hungover, but I don't really know your level of alcohol that night. That bothers me.
Roger, it was an overall angry situation. I apologize for that. People, I think, in this village know me. They supported me, and I made a mistake, and I was angry. And I think that there's not a person on this council or person in this audience that has never let a situation anger them to the point where they make bad decisions. And I'm gonna have to live with that. But I apologize for making a series of bad decisions, and let my passions and anger get away from me. And it's no excuse, but I'm not trying to make excuses for what happened that night. What I'm trying to say is that the incident happened, it's been 2 months ago, and seemingly most people that have an honest view of it are moving forward because we have bigger issues than a verbal confrontation with law. So I'm sorry for that, I understand. I don't like pretty much any of the interactions looking back that I had with those guys. And I think we all know that for the previous time on this council, we've done everything we can for our local law enforcement. This was a personal matter that got out of hand. I apologize for that. But I don't think that it's not going to, the incident isn't going to prevent me from doing right by our police and having a good relationship with the people that I've had a good relationship for 33 years of my life. So.
I have talked to several police officers on this, and they do know that we do have their back and that we are very supportive of the Blue. And we are. I mean, we do everything we can for them in this community. And they do know that. And I have personally talked to several of them for that reason, to make sure that they understand that we are behind them. So.
And one other thing that it's in our rules, and I can let anybody have the rules that want it, but in section 4, under paragraph 2, the comments made in the audience request has to be in regards to the village, council, or the staff, but it can't be targeted at a single individual. So I'm going to have to check with the solicitor to make sure that that's okay. That we can let you talk. I'm not denying you to talk. I mean, you
Yeah, I think the easiest way to, these folks are going to say whatever they're going to say, and I'm the big boy. So if folks have things to say, hopefully we can get through our business.
But yeah, the rules are adopted by council, and without a legal opinion, we gotta go about how we interpret the rules. And the rules say that you can't target an individual in a council meeting. Acknowledge the council. Does anybody wish to speak?
Yes, sir. My comments are directed to the council.
Will you please start with every person to mention where their address is for the record?
Yeah, we've got that covered. Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
No, for the record. We need to know your.
Yes, sir. I have it in here from, I saw what they did last time. So, as I was saying, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I am Chuck Hamilton. My address is 22798 Morris Life Road. I was present at this meeting a couple weeks ago. During the meeting, I saw many citizens speak and make recommendations about removing Colton Henson from the village council because he made some poor judgment decisions and demonstrated unprofessional behavior the evening that Colton and Abby Wright were pulled over by the police for drunk driving. Also during this meeting, there was some discussion about your support for the police. I have no doubt that you, the village council members, do support the police. The police went above and beyond with leniency by not arresting Colton for his actions during the stop because they knew him. I doubt that the police would have been as lenient with someone else that they did not know. I'm here today to point out some of those bad decisions that Colton made and ask you, the village council members, to decide tonight by voting to either remove Colton from the council or to condone his actions by allowing him to continue to be a village council member. 3 poor judgment decisions Colton made. 1, Colton sat in Jackie Ray's drinking alcohol with Abby Wright and became intoxicated. Number 2, Abby was clearly intoxicated before they departed, yet Colton allowed her to drive them in her vehicle instead of asking for a ride, taking a cab, walking, calling a friend, or calling a parent, or deciding to use other possible options to get home. Number 3, as we all know, according to the body cam video, Colton made many poor judgment decisions after the police stopped him. As for my knowledge of alcoholics and their actions, I spent over 29 years on active duty in the Army while rising to the highest enlisted rank of E9, retiring having served my last 6 years as a command sergeant major. I have known many soldiers that developed alcohol abuse problems, of which became repeat offenders. One such soldier, while under the influence of alcohol, killed himself, his 19-year-old girlfriend, and his 18-month-old baby while driving drunk as the worst example of one of the repeat offenders that I knew. He was one of my soldiers. He was permitted by my commander to go on leave from Germany against my recommendations. I told my commander that he was an accident waiting to happen and not to approve his leave. My request was denied and 2 soldiers and an 18-month-old baby died. Today, I'm telling you, Colton shows all the signs of having an alcohol abuse problem and becoming a repeat offender. He shows no remorse for his actions. He needs a significant emotional event that will possibly be significant enough to wake him up so he changes his actions and does the most difficult thing for him to do, of which would be to stop drinking completely. Based on my past experiences with people like Colton, if he is allowed to get away with this without consequences the next time, he just might be the driver, and maybe the person he kills will be someone you know or love. Although Colton was not arrested, this was a serious alcohol-related incident by Colton. Yes, sir?
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Barnes?
Steve Garner, I live at 19428 Hill Road, Circleville. I find it pretty rich there, Mr. Henson, that you say that, you know, we're all different, we're not residents. You guys don't have any problem with me spending my money in your town, do you? Or when I travel through, I stop at a gas station, we frequent your restaurants and things here in town. I buy propane here, you know, so that's not a problem, is it? I'd like to thank Ashville Village Council Mayor for the opportunity to speak. My name is Steve Garner. I have 31 years as a law enforcement officer, which gives me the knowledge and credibility to address council about this matter. I worked for the Franklin County Sheriff's Office as a patrol officer, detective fugitive unit, and I was also a hostage negotiator, and I worked for the U.S. Marshal's Office Fugitive Apprehension Strike Team. As you know, Abby Wright was stopped on September 1st and subsequently arrested on charges of ONVI, stop sign, and no operator's license. She also had no insurance. That's what set this in motion. Ms. Wright's passenger, Ashville Village Council, Colton Henson, attempted to interfere during the traffic stop and arrest. Initially, he stood in front of the Asheville police officer and stated no, when the officer said he needed to speak with the driver. Mr. Henson became verbally belligerent, profane. He also played the victim, stating harassment, claiming the traffic stop was illegal, which was not. The officers displayed professionalism and patience. In fact, I believe they went well beyond the tolerance stage. Mr. Henson should have been arrested for obstructing official business and disorderly conduct. That's what I would have done. If this incident occurred anywhere other than Pickaway County, I believe his arrest would have been assured. Mr. Henson's egregious actions go well beyond the norm of what should be expected of an Asheville City Council or Village Councilman. As a councilman, he should be held to a higher regard. When he failed to act in a professional manner and displayed entitlement behavior, he failed himself, the Asheville Village government, and most of all, citizens he swore to serve. The disrespect Mr. Henson displayed has far more reaching implications that go well beyond the Asheville Village limits. Another reason why we should be able to talk. His actions appeared on television, in print, and on social media. His disrespect was not only towards the Asheville officers, but to the law enforcement everywhere. This is a reason that non-village residents should be able to ask for Mr. Henson's resignation, or better yet, step down, or for council to discipline him for his actions. Intoxication removes inhibition. What Mr. Henson said and displayed should be considered his true feelings towards law enforcement. I've heard Asheville Village Council members state they support law enforcement. Words mean nothing. Action means everything. If you truly, and I mean truly, support law enforcement, demonstrate it through your actions. Your actions should be the discipline and removal of Mr. Henson from council. This is the only way to maintain the confidence of Asheville police officers and law enforcement as a whole. And what you said, you talk to police officers, you think they're going to tell you anything but what they think you want to hear? I can tell you from the
I'm not
past.
gonna argue with you on that.
I'm not going to argue with you, I'm just telling you how officers are.
I can tell you you're wrong on this one.
What's
So,
that?
Because I know they talk to me about other things one-on-one, and I
Of course they
guarantee
do, but
you.
when it comes time to talk about a council resigning,
I'm
they're not going to
argue
be,
with that.
well, I'm sure you're not.
No, sit down.
Well, do I get my 5 minutes over with?
Got about a minute and a half.
Yeah, I know police officers. I've worked with them all my lives. I know how they are. I know who they talk to and what they think. And I'm telling you right now, I've talked to officers about this too. And they're frustrated. So anything, you know, when they talk, they're going to tell you what you want to hear because their job's depend on. These are village guys. These guys aren't represented by the fraternal order of police. They could lose their jobs right now. And unless somebody comes in and speaks on their behalf, and actually, Mr. Henson's never apologized from what I've heard to the police officers themselves. That's what needs to occur. And then talk to them and see how they feel about it. I'll get my minutes up. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I can tell you that I know all about first responders. I got 45 years as a first responder.
Okay.
And so,
And you know if they're not covered by the FOP, they're not covered. They're not going to say anything negative.
they still get due process to be removed. I mean,
They
they're
do.
still entitled to due process.
They do, but it's easy to do it. It is. I'm still with the FOP.
I know, but I don't,
I'm still with the
it's not
fraternal
as
order of
easy as
police.
you think it is.
Well, I've seen it.
All right.
Yes. You ready for me?
Yes.
Okay. Looks like a lot, but it's not. Okay. This is just something that's been talked about for a while. It would have to go through council to get approved. I have papers for you guys. It'll be quick, I promise.
You're fine.
Thank you.
So. I got more. Like I said, it looks like a lot, but I promise it's not. So, this is something that's been talked about for quite some time, but nobody's really pushed it. And I think this is the opportunity with the growth in the town to kind of go over something that the village can kind of look into the laws and regulations on. This one as well. There's that, and once I get them, we'll hand it out. Keep these, because you'll need them. So if no one's familiar with DORA, it's the designated, I can give you two of those.
Use it,
The designated outdoor refreshment area. So it designates what area of town that public residents or anybody coming in can consume alcoholic beverages from local establishments. Now, this is something that I've talked to Bert about, I've talked to Steve about, and as the town is growing, I think this is something that we need to consider. A lot of other cities have DORA. I think it would be a great opportunity for the town's growth when we have upcoming events and festivals. And council has every right to delegate what those rules and regulations are going to be in accordance to time, date, you know, if it's only designated for holidays, stuff like that. Last one. I should have separated them before. 2 minutes now?
Clock's running, yeah.
Okay. I did this afternoon, so. Okay, if you want to open up the first page, the designated outdoor refreshment areas. If you flip to the second page, it shows Circleville. So like I said, DORA is the designated outdoor refreshment area, a specified area of land that local legislative authority has designated as exempt from certain open container provisions as laid out by the Ohio Revised Code. How many DORAs can legislative authority create? So if we have less than 50,000 people, we can do a maximum of 3 DORAs. We have to have a minimum of 2 permits per DORA. So the reason that there would be a max of 3 DORAs, so if you've got one section of town that has 3 restaurants and another section of town that has 3 restaurants, you can designate how many you want, so you don't have a ton of people walking with open containers far away.
With that open crawl or bar crawl they're gonna have,
Yes, so that
they really
was,
shouldn't be taking alcohol outside the business, so I just would, you know, make Circleville's got one and that's,
right,
Yeah,
so,
this would allow that to be, and allow it to be controlled by the council and the different things.
but it would fall under our legislation and our authority, so you wouldn't set up ordinance.
Okay.
yes. So if you look on the little map that I gave, where it shows from my business Blades all the way down Long Street, dead end into Main, and then you go to Jackie Ray's, it's 6 different restaurants that have a bar in it. You guys could delegate, you know, if it's just Long Street to Main Street, or if you wanted to do some side streets, or even if you wanted to.
So what I'm gonna do is, I'll work with Kat, put her in charge of this. We'll come up with something to bring back to council. Bert will give us a hand, and we'll work through it.
Okay.
Just take
Yeah.
it from there. And, because I know, you know, if people are gonna be going from bar to bar to bar, they're gonna be taking it, so, possibilities, so,
Right.
we'll make it legal.
Yeah, it has to be like that, seriously, because we're crossing railroad tracks and things like that, so we have to, things like that to be aware of. So, but, you know, I think.
Look into this, we'll set something up.
You know, I appreciate the stuff,
Okay.
that's something we can look at, you know,
Yeah.
now I've got time to go over it and everything, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Ken.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Am I done?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to pass them out to the
Small business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Snow.
Oh, that's fine.
Jim, off, when you do food truck festival, you have a special permit, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and within the designated areas, similar to what they do in Columbus, when they have a special event, no alcohol beyond this point, things like
There's
that.
signage, yeah,
Okay,
signage, there's different regulations.
and that's done on an as-needed basis, like for the food truck
This
festival.
is no different than when you do that, when you set up a door, you have to have all your Ts and everything crossed when you submit it, because you can't just go back and change something and start all over
Okay.
the same deal.
We kind of have a natural block there with it anyway. I mean, it's two streets have restaurants for it.
Rich is Hamilton. I'll find out from the solicitor, because one of them is like repetitive, bringing stuff up and over and over and over. I just want to make sure that
Well,
everything we got is covered.
well,
And you got,
I will not mention his name, I just have a question of you. Okay.
Good.
Good evening, Patty Hamilton, I'm at 22798 Morris Slice Road, Southville, Ohio. I'm here tonight to ask you to vote on the situation that we had discussed previously. The people of Asheville deserve to know if the council will stand with supporting the police or will condone the heinous behavior. And I would ask that you would use a voice vote. If the council does nothing, it clearly shows that standards of conduct set out by Ohio Revised Code 371.45 in reference to the disorderly conduct and violation of standards of any village employee is acceptable if you do nothing. This also tells the community that the council does not respect Asheville police and that others can conduct themselves in a heinous manner without any consequences. Thank you for your time.
I'd like to speak if I can. John Bridgewater, 47 Weston Ave, constituent resident of Asheville. Colton's sorry he got caught. That's what he's sorry about. His display that night, entitlement behavior, and the whole 9 yards, he wanted Hayden to show up and take over the stop so he could sweep under the carpet. And that's what we're attempting to do here tonight. He's not apologizing anything sincerely, not one single word. He's sorry he got caught. Whenever someone has a run-in with the police, it's not their first time, it's not his first rodeo. That's common knowledge. Now, I spent 12 years in the military. 8 of those years I was a substance abuse counselor. And let me tell you, he is not sorry for anything.
Okay, hold on. You're directing everything right
Okay.
towards it.
All
So
right,
you're
so-
done. You're done.
Yeah.
I want a roll call vote. That's what I want.
Stop recording me. You don't need to record me. Why are you recording me?
I'd just like to say this, there isn't a single person up here, even him included, who's happy with what happened that night. In fact, none of us were happy at all. There's not a single person up here who was happy with this. There also isn't a single person up here who has the ability to judge the sincerity of a man's apology. I know people that can write something nice and tell you that and be absolutely genuine. I know other people can look you right in the face and lie to you. People are different. People are unique. I will say that night, I've told him this. Our cops were professional that night. He wasn't. He knows it. Our cops were professional. I've told our cops involved with this that they were professional, and I appreciated what they did. And by the same token with that, I'm just going to move on to something else real quickly, because we don't take support of the police lightly at all. It's not lip service. I went out to the football game Friday night, and I sat there and I cried with a couple of cops over what happened Thursday. I sat and I talked to a man whose son was on Harrison, who responded to this. And you're devastated for what happened, you're also devastated for what those young men went through. And I told our police officers, and I told this fellow whose son is on the EMT, I said, if you need anything, if you need counseling of any kind, or if you need anybody to sit and talk with you, they saw things that night, that day that I don't ever want to think about. What the nature of their job is that. So I literally, I sat out there and I cried with these guys because I was just so darn upset. This was a customer of ours. This was a lady that I've known for years. The system failed these people, absolutely, 100%. I mean, there's no doubt about what happened with that one. The system failed this person. I've reached out to our guys. I will continue to reach out to our guys. I have a lot of respect for our guys. As I told Officer Markham, Officer Klein that night, I said, when I get up in the morning, I don't have much expectation that a gun's going to be pointing at me. They do. It can happen. So talk is cheap, but I'm telling you, lived here for 65 years. Nothing but respect for those guys and the EMTs for what they do. They do a job that I literally could not do. So that's all I gotta say.
I'm sorry. I know I didn't fill out one of those things and I didn't ask to get your guys' permission to speak, but I have stood here and listened as long as I could because we have given so much time to this and we've listened to so many people speak of this. While our chief of police has been off for almost 4 months, okay, for nonsense. Nonsense. The police, yes, no, they didn't arrest Colton that night. But they did bring charges up. And the prosecutors decided not to go through with those charges. So the police did their job. Okay, and Colton has paid in other ways for what he's had to do. And what he did. We've got to move on. I've had a really hard time sitting here listening to all this fighting and arguing and fussing. And I've still got a chief of police that needs something done. And I need the council to stand up for my chief of police. If I need somebody to back the blue, I need you guys to help back the blue right now for our chief of police. Show me that you back the blue.
We've talked to the Madison County prosecutor because he's the one that's looking into the case. He said it's a grand jury indictment. It is secret. We'll find out once something's done. And until then, and he says, the only thing that I can tell you is we're actively working on it because Peckaway County, with the relationship they had with Jeff, said they had to turn it over to a special prosecutor.
And last I heard, the village was the victim in this. The village was the victim on the accused.
I haven't heard that. I heard
If the village is
first time I
the
heard that was
victim
tonight.
and no crime has been committed, the village can drop it.
I heard that last night too, Melinda, and I shared it with the mayor right before this, and we're definitely going to check into that.
See, the problem we got is it's a separate investigation. It's being done by the sheriff's office. The sheriff received a complaint, they're looking into it. It has nothing to do with the village. I mean, because council was ready to take whatever action
And
they needed to take according to
okay,
their
so
ordinance.
we show that on that complaint, the victim is the complaintee.
See, and that I didn't know. I didn't know that until I talked to Randy.
So if the victim is the complaintee, then there is no crime here because you guys would be the victim. Are you guys feeling like a victim? If you're not a victim, there is no crime.
No, I
The
said-
sheriff's department is the ones who said for you guys to put him on administrative leave. Is that correct?
Through our solicitor.
So why has your solicitor not got onto getting a request of who the victim is or a copy of the request of public record from the sheriff's department?
I can't answer, because like I say, the council got into their ordinances, found out what the punishment was for whatever happened. They were ready to punish, and then we found out that the sheriff was doing their own investigation.
And I mean, in the meantime, you know, this stuff that probably the cause of this is putting a downfall to the whole department. And there's information sitting with your guys' HR department that has the information needed to stop the downfall. That was the cause of all this. Because of greed.
Yeah, we'll have to check with Brian on that, Garbine, because he's our HR, we'll have to get with him.
There's emails, we've asked, we've requested, there's emails. He's got everything, he's sitting on it. And nothing's being done. And this is a man who's been in there 22 years in the police department for this village. And he's being defamated, his character's being defamated.
And the prosecutor, even on the one today, with the dog, she told us until charges are filed, it's under investigation.
It's
And
under
that's what we're being
investigation,
told
yes.
by our solicitor, is it's
Yes.
under investigation because
But
there
you
have
can
been no
go,
formal
you can go
charges.
find out who the,
I
who
mean,
the
we've been
victim
having,
is.
we've been having regular discussions with the solicitor, but
you can go
It's
find out who
basically
the
out of our
defendant
hands.
is, or who the
With the-
victim is on this
with-
crime.
Oh, I agree, but
Yeah.
it's.
And if
you
you're
know,
the victim, then you have the option of dropping these charges, or
But it's-
dropping this investigation.
Well, like I say, when I talked to him, he told me the grand jury indictments are secret, and the only thing he needed to disclose with us is it is actively being investigated.
Well, Mayor, I think that, and I know that's what you're going to do, is follow up with our solicitor. Maybe there's some legal action the village can take to get this case dropped if the prosecutor over there doesn't recognize what's being said. I'm not an attorney, so I don't really know, but it sounds kind of crazy to me.
I mean, we could look into it, like, you know, what we're being told is it's not our investigation.
But our solicitor needs to tell us this question.
It's not your investigation,
Yeah.
that's true. And it is an open investigation. But if you are found to be the victim on this case, then you guys can drop the investigation because there's no crime.
We can talk to their detectives tomorrow.
We definitely want Jeff back, so.
Any other discussion?
Colton, just let me say one more thing here. I don't know the feeling of the village. I know the feeling of this person here that's addressed council. But it's impacting this whole body that we're being cast as trying to put this under the rug.
Roger.
And, but let me finish. It would seem to me, maybe you were not hesitant to resign from Marino's campaign. Maybe your seat here is just as important. And that's really all. I mean,
Roger, this is a job that I was elected to for 4 years. And that's what the people signed up for. And I don't think that this body or anybody in this crowd should negate the fact that 900 people in this community voted. Yeah.
They didn't vote for this incident.
Yeah.
What happened. I agree. Things changed. Bernie Marino didn't sign you on like this either. But that's your choice to make. And I just needed to say it, okay?
Or do we have any other council comments or anything?
You know, I'll make the motion to,
You need
Yes,
to, you need
George.
to, you need to talk to your citizens. I don't believe the body has the ability.
maybe it'll die for no second, I don't know. Somebody has to stand up.
I just don't believe the village has the authority to do it.
Well, fine.
A motion on the floor, but a second.
Guys, for a second.
Motion dies for a second. Motion adjourned.
So me,
Second.
Vote.
Yes.